Hi, everyone. Dom Famularo here, and I'm in my studio right now. And, I've got to have the great opportunity, as I have been for these past Mondays at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, to have all these great drummers. Today, Darrell Robinson joins me. Darrell, thank you so much for joining me today.
No problem. Thank you for having me. And I wanted to make a major shout out to Mapex Drums for supporting me for 16, 17 years. Mark Bennett, thank you. And Joe Hibbs, rest in peace. That was my guy. And Dom, you're amazing. I meant to tell you that, man. Talking to you for these couple minutes, man, you're amazing. You have a great personality. You're so warm, and I just love it, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, Darrell, it's the same to you. You're so easy to be with. And I remember hearing you play at Joe Hibbs Memorial in Nashville, and you were there with a handful of people. I was hosting the event. We celebrated Joe Hibbs's life. Rest his soul. What a beautiful person. And I want to hear more about that. But you played unfreaking believable that day, man. You guys went up there and just tore it up.
We had to for Joe, man. Joe was an amazing guy, and he was an amazing guy. And, he supported me throughout my whole career, ups and downs. And I cannot say enough good things about Joe.
As you mentioned, it's all about relationship. And the great thing about Mapex is they've got some great people. Mark Bennett is just a hardworking guy. He's just such a good person to work with. And it's that level of relationship that really makes the excitement of not only are they great people, and of course they make great product. The product stands on its own as being just fantastic, as you can see from all of my drum sets back here, my Mapex kits. Now tell me how Joe Hibbs brought you into the Mapex family.
So I have a great friend of mine, Eric Tribbett. I was just hanging out with him. I was about 18 years old. And we're just hanging, talking. And he was like, you're playing with music now, Music Soul Child. Are you endorsed? I was like, absolutely not. He said, listen, what do you think about Mapex Drums? I said, I love them. He said, all right, give me a second. He called Joe Hibbs on the phone. He said, listen, man, I got this young kid from Philly. He's killing it. He's ready to go. I think he should endorse Mapex. So Joe was like, let me talk to him. So I got on the phone with Joe. Joe asked me one question. He said, is your foot as fast as Eric Tribbett's? I said, it's way faster. He said, what's the address? A week later, I had Mapex Drums, and I've been repping ever since.
Joe Hibbs was a one-of-a-kind guy. And he actually really was a great, great player.
Yes.
Joe was a great player.
Really?
Oh, yeah. No, Joe played really good. Joe was from the Houston area and played great blues and funk. And there were many, many great drummers that came from that area. Willie Ornelas, Tony Bronnagel, guys that were from that group of still great players. And Joe was in that group. And I met Joe back in the late 70s. We went back a long, long time. And he was just a beautiful person.
Oh.
But here you are, man. You're doing this thing yourself. So tell me, you were in the Philly area. You started playing. What got you involved with drumming in the first place?
Church, man. Church. My father is a bishop in the Philadelphia area. They saw that I had a talent to play the drums. I used to watch this guy named Spike McCrae, which is a legend in Philly. Actually, John Roberts and Brian Moore used to watch him, and that's the guy that played at my church. So that's where I get my sense of pocket from. And I watched him, and I was able to pick it up. And I would actually play a double set with him when I was like 3 or 4 years old, and I would play with him. And so that's how I kind of got locked in, and I just fell in love with music. Obviously, it's a gift from God, and just listening to different music as I came up, it inspired me to I just want to do music. I want to go on the road and so here I am,
So you had the support of the church to play and be influenced by hearing many other great musicians.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, like I said, Little John Roberts and Brian Moore were very inspirational in the fact that they were from Philly and they were from my neighborhood. So I felt like I could do it. I'm actually from the hood or the urban community. So a lot of us don't make it out. So the fact that I've traveled to 6 out of the 7 continents is amazing, and it's a blessing. And I don't feel no sense of entitlement. I just feel blessed. I got to watch them, and then as I got older, you know, I ran into Spanky, McCurdy, and Boots Green, and they're like my age, so it was like they keep me on my toes, man.
Great player. So you really kind of lucked out because of where you lived. You had this influence from players around you.
Also, this is another thing that I tell people. I don't know if I'm moving too fast, but this is another thing I tell people. Timing and location is very important for success, because if you think about it, Philly is the birthplace of neo soul. So there were like 10 to 15 artists that were on the road, and it was only really 3 to maybe 6 drummers that were qualified. So whether I was good or not, I was going to get a gig. You know what I'm saying? So that enabled me to get on the road at a very young age and get that experience at a very young age, so that, you know, when the bigger gigs came, I was ready to go. You know what I'm saying? When the Queen Latifahs came and the LL Cool J's came and all of that, I was ready to go. So I think that I got to really give credit to Philly and the Philly music scene, because it's so rich and it's so tough, because, you know, we really pressure people, or make sure that people understand that it's about the authenticity. You have to play the music the right way. You can't make up your own version. You have to play the music as you hear it, and then you add yourself into it without taking away from the fabric and the heartbeat of the music. You know what I'm saying?
So you had to really do the research as far as players that came before you.
Absolutely.
To get to know the music, right?
Absolutely.
So did you ever take any lessons from anybody? Was there any kind of formal lessons?
My only lessons was, in Philly we have something called a shed, and we just as a bunch of drummers get together and we play and we articulate our styles together, not in a competition sort of way, but it's like we're speaking to one another. That's how we were taught. So I got to see John and Brian, who were at the height of their careers, play together, and with such control and such professionalism. So you take that and you listen to that and you go home and you just remember as much as you can and you just practice. And every Sunday you're playing, and the church gig seems like it's an easy gig, but that's probably the toughest gig, because they rough on you in there. You know what I mean? So, I had, so to answer your question, I had no formal training. It's all just by listening and being able to copy it and, gain my own style.
Well, it's kind of interesting, because there's a wonderful saying: we use steel to sharpen steel, and it is man that sharpens man.
Yes.
You're a great example of that you got together with these great players and you played music, you spoke to each other through your music, and you were sharpening each other. This is powerful.
Yes. You know how they say you can run by yourself, and you're just running, and you can run at a top speed by yourself, but when you're running with somebody faster, you run faster. It's like the same concept to me. It's like when you sit down with somebody and they may, have more to say than you at that time, it pushes you and it pulls you out and it stretches you and it makes you reach for more. And I think that's so important for musicians to do, to just keep, first of all, you have to stay humble and enable yourself to listen to other people. And when you listen to other people, like, oh, that's cool. And you stretch yourself to try to learn other things. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to get stuck in your own way. You know what I mean?
It was a very, very good point. It's kind of interesting. So now you're playing with your friends. You're kind of learning. Where did the first professional gig happen that all of a sudden you now started going on the road? When did that happen?
So my first professional gig was I'm going to say Jaguar Wright was my first professional gig because that's the first gig that we were on a tour bus and we were actually on an official tour.
Nice.
And I was 18 at the time, and it was amazing. And she was really, really tough on me, really tough. Like, so this is how my first gig went. We're playing the show, and she was like, she broke the music down on the one. And she said, "Hey, y'all, I got a new drummer. His name is Don or something with a D. He's going to take a solo, and if he does a good solo, I'll keep him on as my drummer." And I did a solo. I didn't let that, bother me. I just did a solo. I kept it musical, and I did me. And the crowd went crazy, and that's how I got the gig. But that was rough. Nobody prepared me for that. That was a rough thing. And I thank God for that because, a lot of artists are cool, but some artists are like that. And I got that from the very beginning. So I understood like this is still a workplace and you have to do what you got to do to keep your job. So she was like really old school. So that's how I got my first gig.
Well, listen, that's what we call baptism by fire.
Absolutely.
You were thrown into the fire. Wait, so how long were you on the road with that gig for?
So I was on the road with Jag for a year. So we actually went out with music, Soul Child. This is all neo soul stuff. And then we were on tour with them. We did like 3 weeks, and then we went home. And then I got the call to do music because Little John was actually playing for music, but he went back to Janet. So that opened up the drum spot. So I got the music gig. And then after that, I got called to do Jill Scott with my homie Adam Blackstone. He was the MD. That was like his first MD gig. And I also produced and co-produced the song Golden for her. So I'm actually a producer as well. So that was a blessing.
That's a whole nother hat you put on, that's for sure. So how long were you home after the first tour? How long were you home for before that next opportunity opened up?
Maybe 2 to 3 weeks. It was like, because John just left immediately. Like Janet called, he was out. It was like, we're in the middle of a tour. I need you to come in. They sent me the music. I learned it, came out and just started playing a tour. You know what I'm saying? So I was out immediately. And then after that, I came home. We were home for like maybe 2 or 3 months. We got the Jill call. We started rehearsing with her. And then we did the Sugar Water Festival with Queen Latifah, Erykah Badu, and Floetry. And we did that. That was 2005. So everything was kicking into gear. Came home. Then I got a call for Pharrell. And me and Boots Green were actually together hanging out, and we got the call at the same time because we played a double drum set on that gig. And that was the best call I ever got in my life.
Let's go back for a second. When you get called to do a gig and they send you tunes, how do you work on learning the song? What's your process?
So my process at this point or back then?
Well, back then. So how'd you evolve to where you are now?
So back then it was like I would just listen to the song, just listen to the album over and over again, make sure that I knew it, and that was kind of it. Now I kind of like a little more technical, so I'll sit there. And because before, my thing was I wanted to go into the situation fresh. I wanted to give my creative input into the situation. So I didn't want to be too rehearsed, right? I didn't want to just like, you play this like this. Or because if they called me, they want something different. They want what I'm going to give them. So I just wanted to make sure that I knew the format of the song and kind of the ideas that I have. And then when we go in, that's what neo soul is basically you playing from your heart and you playing the feel that you feel on the song, you keep it authentic, but at the same time, you're giving your input. So at that time, that's what it was. When we got the nerd call, the Pharrell call, that was just like, okay, I was already a fan of his music, so I kind of knew it. And me and Boots would listen to the music together, and we'll sit there and we'll say, we're both producers, so he'll be like, okay, this song doesn't require two drummers, so this is my favorite song, so I'll play this.
Nice.
And then that's your favorite song, you play this. This song requires two drummers. I'll play the verse, you play the chorus. No, I play the verse, we both play the chorus, you play the second verse, we'll both play the chorus, and then we'll play the rest of the song out. That's how we kind of like rationalized it, you know what I mean? And so that was basically how I got ready for that.
So you remembered this stuff. You didn't necessarily chart anything out.
I didn't. I have really good retention at that time. Now I write it down.
That in itself is a whole nother gift of that level of retention.
Yeah.
To be able to remember with a verse and chorus, what feel you might want to play in there, what you're feeling from it. And that whole neo soul, that whole new soul sound is really in the moment and in the now. It's really right at that moment. Nothing is really kind of, pre-planned to a certain degree. It's how you're feeling at that moment. And therefore, every gig changes.
Every gig changes. So you don't know what it is. So you might play a groove one gig and she's like, that's the groove I want from now on. So you're like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? You can change the whole song. So Jill Scott does this song, Just Running Across My Mind. I think that's the title of it.
Yeah.
That's still the beat that I coined that beat in 2005. She still does the beat that way. That's not how the record goes. It's like an open hi-hat thing, and I was just doing it in rehearsal. She was like, I like that. Keep that. And everybody was pissed off, like, now we got to change our grooves up because you want to do something extra. But Jill is like really like, she's like emotional and she's sensual. So she's like, anything that feels good, she's with it. You know what I mean? So, it was cool. It was a cool moment.
So let's go back to Pharrell. I mean, first of all, he's also a good drummer, aside from being a phenomenal producer and what he does. Did he ever play any drums or have any influence you of what you wanted on the drums at all?
Nah, he just really likes how I'll listen to the music. He really likes how I interpret his music. So he really has nothing to say. The only thing he really had to say was maybe about tones, like the snare tone. He likes it really tight. You know what I mean? Like the snare really tight. Yeah. He don't really like a mid sounding snare. So that's about it. But other than that, he's like, because we take that very seriously. Like, I mean, I can't really I can't really say how seriously we take it because that's a real serious thing. When you hear Little John play Velvet Rope and you hear Usher play for Usher, I mean, you play Brian play for Usher, it's like they're playing the music. And that's something that's just a staple with all Philly drummers. You have to play the music. So he loves the way we interpret it. And a big inspiration of mine is Amir, Questlove Thompson. Like, I love his playing, you know what I mean? So it's like, that simplicity with the authenticity, that's what I admire, and that's what I go after. So Pharrell loves that. And if you think about it, the Roots had the gig before we did. So that's why we got the gig, because the Roots obviously is their own band. So they couldn't go on the road with them. So that's how we got it. We were like, they're our OGs. So we got gifted the gig. And I mean, it's been amazing, yo. It's been amazing. I actually called, like, Boots did it with me. Rashid did it with me, who's a Mapex drummer. Devin Webster, he plays with Eminem. Little Mike, he plays with Janet Jackson. Eric Tribbett did it with me. Like, all of these drummers did the gig with me, and like, it was amazing. You know what I mean? It was amazing. So like, that was like the best gig that I've ever had.
That is really fantastic. And Rashid, I interviewed Rashid Williams here And what a phenomenal drummer he is too.
Yeah,
There's so much great talent out there. But I got to ask you next. So you were saying, and I know there's that tight snare drum sound. So Mapex has a whole series of Black Panther snare drums.
Mm-hmm.
We got a question from Carlos Goodspan. Carlos is a wonderful drummer in Miami. Playing with such diverse artists, does your setup change with each artist? And how do you incorporate, if any, electronics with that?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I try to with me lately, I've been trying to just stay with Pharrell and NERD, but my setup does change depending on what I'm doing. It's mostly just the cymbals, but I like my times 10, 12, 16. That's just how I like to do it. And the 14-inch snare drum. I use the Black Panther blade snare. I love it. It's amazing. And of course, now, dealing with these, a lot of artists like the track sound now. So lately I've been using Yamaha electronics, and I basically use triggers. I get the sound from the album, and I put it on my drums, and from song to song, I'll just switch, the sounds or whatever, so it sounds more like the record. So that's something that if the artist wants that or needs that, I'll do that. But mostly, man, I like the acoustic sound of the drum. Yeah. I like the feel. I like it to feel as organic as possible. You know what I mean? So
absolutely. And is it a 22-inch bass drum you play with?
I love 24. I got it. I love 24. I would rather have a 24 any day. And it was crazy. Wow. I was walking in New York and I saw Questlove. I was like, yo, listen, I want to get a 24-inch bass drum, but how deep should it be? He said, yo, get a 24 by 18. I'm telling you, it's going to change your life. So that's what I go by, I love his sound. And so it gives you that big punchy sound, but it's like quick and out the way. You know what I mean? So I love it. Yeah.
Well, listen, that's what Mapex does so well with the sounds and how they mix a lot of the woods together.
Yeah.
They get you have the tonability that you have control over your sound. Absolutely. So Carlos' question is kind of interesting, the fact that there is this incredible reach of different sounds, but you'll tune the drums pretty similar the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I like my drums to sound the same way, unless, the artist requires something else. But pretty much everybody I play, I work with, they enjoy my sound, and that's why they called me. So that's what I do,
Will Pharrell sit with you and listen to you tune that snare? Will he?
Nah. Pharrell comes to rehearsal. He say, D, what we doing? I said, we're going to just run through the set, just to make sure you like everything, you happy. We run through the set. He'd be like, am I done? Like, yeah, all right, cool. We out. You know what I mean?
But what I want you to talk about is, with Pharrell, you're the MD, you're the musical director. So talk about what responsibility that takes in being an MD. This is a whole nother level of business now, where you've got to be the organizer of the music, you've got to be the organizer of the musicians, and you've got to be, if anything, like a father figure, but you've got to be the sergeant in charge to make sure everything's organized. It all falls onto you, right?
Right. So at this point, I'm not the musical director. So initially when we got the call, Junius Burvine, which is an amazing keyboard player from Philly, he called me to do the gig. He did it with the Roots. As an additional player, he stayed on as the MD. He called me, Eric Green, and the rest of the band.
Yeah.
At some point, it switched over to me, and at that point, when you're a musical director, I think it's really about just dealing with different personalities. You would be an amazing musical director because it's really about just dealing with different people and just getting the information across that basically you're the conduit between the artist and the band, right? So the artist says, this is what I want, and you got to let the band know this is what we have to do in a cool way, because I'm still a part of the band, but at the same time, I'm the leader. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, we're all in this together. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a lot of calling people, a lot of making sure everybody's on point. And it's a fun gig if that's what you want to do. You know what I mean? And just the arrangements of the music, and you got to make sure that you're talking to managers and making sure you're talking to the creative directors about what the vision is, and making sure that you're just doing your job musically. And I think everything after that is just, falls into place.
Wow, boy, that's pretty powerful. So what is it like when you're doing like an MD gig? Listen, you got to keep all the musicians on the same page.
Right.
Have there ever been any challenges that you've had being an MD where all of a sudden now, musicians didn't pull their weight?
No. So I had a chance of, rest in peace, Mac Miller. I was his musical director. I've never met Mac Miller in person. He just called me. He was like, "Listen, I heard you was the MD for Pharrell and NERD. I love this stuff. I would love for you to be my musical director. I need you to get an LA band." I said, "Cool. What kind of guys do you need?" He said, "I want some amazing players." So I called Tony Royster, and a few other, Derek Cobbs, and a few other players. That's the name is not coming to my head right now, but it basically was like, we talk about, listen, this is what we're doing. This is the artist. This is the music. This is the pay. And once everybody, the pay is really the toughest, job to make sure everybody's happy there. Once everybody's happy there, I make sure that I call people that are dependable, because I know a lot of good musicians that, they don't come on time, or they talk too much to the artist and thinking that they're friends, or they don't dress right. They just not professional. So I make sure I don't call people like that, because, that makes the job a lot harder, because at the end of the day, it's a job. It's fun, but it's a job. So once everybody is happy with the funds, and, I let them know this is what we're doing. And I have a pretty much good relationship with everybody that I call, because I wouldn't call them otherwise. Yeah. And, they're like, "All right, cool, D, I got you. Let's do it." And they go in there and they do a wonderful job. Mac Miller calls me like, "Yo, you're the best MD in the world." And all I did was just call my friends. You know what I mean? So it was like, I make sure that, I arrange the music. I'll listen to all of the music. He'll tell me what he wants, and then I'll arrange the music. I'll make some suggestions. He'll take them and he'll be like, "Okay, I like that. That's cool. Let's put a drum solo here. Let's do this." And then we'll put the show together. We'll arrange it. And then I make sure the rehearsals are sent to me every day. I'll listen to them. I'll make my notes. I'll call the on-site MD, like, "This is what we need to change," or "This is great." And then once everybody's happy, we good,
Wow, boy, but it's a whole other level of responsibility. I want everyone to understand. Listen, playing drums is one thing, but you have this whole nother level of responsibility of contracting the musicians, keeping them on time, having them show up, and like you said, you want them to be happy, so they got to negotiate the money so everyone knows of what you're doing. How long did you go out with Pharrell? How long were you out with him?
Man, I've been with him since 2006.
Unbelievable. So now just to pause for a second. Now, during this pandemic, we've all been kind of here. We're all kind of laying low. Our world has changed. And I'm sure you're probably not going to go out until probably maybe even mid-2021, maybe going out back on tour?
Yeah, so at this point, I really don't know. But I'm, like, to be honest with you, Dom, I'm really enjoying my time home with my family. I have a 16-year-old son that's about to turn 17. I have a 10-year-old son that's about to turn 11, and my 6-year-old daughter and my wife, and we just enjoying each other. My son, I'm teaching him how to drive. My oldest son, my youngest son, I just enrolled him in football, so we're watching a bunch of football clips.
Good.
My son wants to do cheerleading, and I'm just educating them. on just life, and of course this whole racial tension thing. I'm just telling them who they are as people, that they're not less than, and they're not inferior. So I'm enjoying this time home because I spent so much time on the road. This is like a great break, So I'm really good, man. I'm excellent. I go see my sister once a week with her 4 boys, and I see my mom and my dad all the time. So life is amazing right now. My mom just beat breast cancer, so just life is just great right now. I'm working out now, trying to get this weight off me. You know what I mean? So me and my wife is on a diet. So it's like, I'm just doing life stuff. I'm listening to a lot of music, The Meters, Parliament Funkadelic, Al Green, Bill Withers, D'Angelo.
Man.
Still, I'm just like listening to all of this stuff, just whole shows. I just put it on, just listen to it, and just enjoy myself. Q-Tip and just the things that I enjoy. I'm just listening to music. I'm working on my album with my band, the Origin Band. Adam Blackstone, Dwayne Moore, Rayfield Halloman, Aaron Draper, and Johnny Swerve Smith. We got a gospel band, and we're just lifting up Jesus. We're almost done the album. We have some great features, and I'm producing my mixtape. So I'm just doing a lot of different things, man. I'm having fun.
I love it, man. But listen, you're taking advantage of this time. Let's talk about just the family for a second, because there's the balance of keeping your playing at a certain level. That's that artistic level. Then there's the business side of being able to keep in touch with everyone, to keep all your business going on. Then there's the personal side with your family, with your wife and 3 kids. Listen, it's the balancing of all of this that really is the true blessing that we have.
Yes.
And this pandemic, when you think about it, as insane and as sad as it is to have lost the incredible amount of people worldwide that has died from it, but I got to tell you something. There's a lot of blessings here that we have been given this sense of time to take advantage of getting to know our family better and guiding them along the way.
Absolutely. And I think that, my family comes first, man. Yeah. My family comes first. And so that's why I enjoy this time so much. But at the same time, it's like, I enjoy to be able to, tell my kids about different parts of the world, and that you can do anything if you just persevere and you work hard. You have to have I had a burning desire to do what I'm doing now. Like nobody could tell me I wasn't going to do this. Everybody tried to tell me it wasn't possible, and I told them I was going to do it. And I feel so passionate about it because it happened for me, so it can happen for anybody. You just can't listen to what people are saying. Just work hard, stay in your lane, stay around people that's doing it, that has the same mindset, and you will be successful. You know what I mean? That's just what it's all about for me, man. I see this question right here. Jacoby Gunter said, "What was the most intense situation you have been being a musical director, and how did you overcome it?" And I just want to answer that. I just thought about this while I've been home. So one thing for me is like, I talked about how we make sure that when we play a song that is so authentic that it feels like the record. And sometimes artists will just believe in you so much, they'll be like, this is the song, 10 minutes before the show, play it for the show. And sometimes as a musical director, I would say, I don't think we should do that because we didn't practice it or whatever the case may be. But what I've learned is that as a musical director, you have to be amenable, and your job is to do what they ask you to do. So one thing that I've learned is that I can't really go into how I feel about it. I have to just do the job. So if that's what they want to do and that's in their heart, if their name is on that headline, then that's what you have to do. So that's how I overcame it, by just becoming humble and just opening myself up and just doing the best job that I can do for the artist. And I think that a lot of musicians would do better if they're not getting gigs and things like that, because we can't go into the situation like this is my situation. You're playing behind the artist, you're playing their vision, so you have to fit into that puzzle. And I think, that was like one of the biggest challenges for me. It wasn't that I was like trying to stop what they were doing, but it was like, I just want to do it the best way we can do it. If we rehearse it today, then tomorrow on sound check, then we can play it for the show. But if it was in their heart to do it at that moment, then, before I wouldn't really be likely or apt to, suggest to do it. But now it's like, let's do it, man. You know what I mean? You got one list. You got one life. Let's live it to the fullest, baby. Let's go.
I love it. And it's interesting that you mentioned Jacoby Gunter. I know Jacoby very, very well. Jacoby's from South Carolina, and he's a phenomenal, phenomenal drummer. His mom, Dolores, is an absolute saint. She plays bass guitar, and she helped him grow as a drummer. But Jacoby's very spiritual, plays also in the church. Very, very important part of the journey.
Good. That's good. I didn't mean to stop you, man. Bob Terry, I see you, baby. Love you, man. I love you, Bob Terry.
And check this out here. This out here. I want to put this one up here where they speak about playing. There was a woman that mentioned about. Well, check out this girl here, Sandra DeCassia. I'm president of an association of rock bands in Salvador, Bahia, Brazil. Mapex is a dream kit for any artist drummer. Darrell, I would love to contact you in the future. Congratulations, guys, on a nice interview. She wants to get a hold of you. So my point is, I'm going to let her know that you can track you down on your Instagram, right? Which is Darrell Drums 215.
DARRELL Drums 215. Hit me up, baby.
Double R's, double L's, Drums 215. Darrell Drums 215. Check it out. And on Instagram, so Sandra, contact Darrell, connect with you guys, and this could open up to a whole other level of getting you to Brazil and doing some stuff in Brazil. This is how it all works out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Boy, that is fantastic. It's kind of interesting here. Listen, we got tons of people that are here. I mean, from all over the world here. My gosh, we've got people from Poland. Bob Terry's joined us. Bob Terry, another phenomenal player, had worked with Mapex for many, many years. Great, great guy in what he does. Boy, Bruno Bonaventure, listen to these guys. This is so, gosh, I want to go back. They had a question here. This one here where the person asked about, here it is, Perry Trenon Graham. Church is the real training ground for drummers. Just talk about that, about how influential that even though you're on the road with all these great acts and you're trolling and traveling, that fundamental foundation that you got in church by working is still with you.
Well, see, this is the thing. This is what I'll tell you. If you can play in church, you can play anywhere. And the reason why I say that is you can go Philly. I don't know how it is where you live, but in Philly, every corner has a church. And pretty much 1 out of 4 churches you walk in has an amazing drummer. So when you go and you visit another church, so you can think like, oh man, I'm doing so well. You know what I mean? I'm ahead of everybody. That's how I felt when I was like 11, 12 years old. I'm like, oh, nobody's seeing me at this age. I'm amazing. And then I went to Spanky Church and I heard him play. Man, it broke my heart, man. I was like, oh my God, this guy is amazing. He was, Spanky is a small guy, so I thought he was younger than me. Oh man, that broke my confidence so bad. But it pushed me. Like, okay, now I got something. I got somebody that's gonna keep me on my toes. So it's a training ground, definitely for that reason. And also, like when you're in, I believe in God, and I believe in, the gift came from Him. So when you are in that and in church and you're playing the drums and you're under the Spirit and you're transferring that energy. And it's coming from God. It just feels like heavenly. It's like no place you would rather be. And the church services are, as you know, black services are very long. It's a lot of fast playing music, and it's really like it's really like great practice, man. And then you go to another church and you hear another amazing drummer, so you got to make sure that you're on point. And the music is kind of difficult, and it's like it's its own style, so it sharpens you up. So when you get on the road, you're ready, you're intense, and you're ready to go, and you're aggressive, and that's just how it is. You know what I mean? The way I used to play when I first started playing, the way I play now is like two different ways, man. Because when I was playing in church every week, it was just like I was so aggressive, but now it's like I learned how to lay back. I matured a lot more. You know what I'm saying? But church is like a really good place to start. And I continue to play in church at my dad's church. So it's amazing.
And listen, the fact that your dad's a bishop is incredible, because that opens up a whole nother level of you meeting and probably still continuing to meet some other great players.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And one thing that I want to say about my dad, man, is that he prepared me for the road mentally. The road could be a very dangerous place for somebody that doesn't have a foundation. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of people get caught up in drugs and women. The fact that I married my wife that has my 3 children, I don't have no kids out of wedlock. Not that I knock anybody that does, but it just kept me very centered, and I understood what the dangers was, and I stayed away. I stayed away from the dangerous stuff, and I just kept it, fun, and kept myself around good people, and I made sure that I didn't put myself in any kind of danger, man. And it's because it could be dangerous out there, when you in these third world countries, especially traveling for road. We went everywhere, and after the show, you might go with somebody, and they might not have the best intentions for you. So I just, stayed away from that. So I just want to thank my dad for that. That was awesome.
So church was not only a great training ground for musical training ground, but it was a great training ground for your core values and who you are as a person.
Absolutely.
That's the balance of both of them, that the training ground musically lifted you up to see and made you more humble to see what you had to learn because of all the great players. But then spiritually, being the kind of person, listen, I've traveled around the world too, and continued up until the pandemic to 10, 20 countries a year of performing and go. This is intense. Yeah. If you don't have a core foundation and a respect for who you are as a person, with our family, listen, you can get lost and be taken down a road that I know way many musicians that have been down that road that got involved with drugs and women and difficulties where their lives now are so whacked out.
Yeah.
So
amazing back in the day, like amazing, and then it's like, oh, what happened? Yeah. Like, I got a friend. I'm not gonna. His name shall remain anonymous, but it's like, yo, he died, man, from overdosing, man. That's a hurt. That hurts, man. He's 30 years old, man. That's ridiculous, man. Yeah. That's ridiculous, man. He's an amazing drummer. Like amazing. I mean, you sit down, you be like, oh my God, and taken out by drugs, man. That's a hurt piece. Mac Miller, he's 27. He's a kid. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, so those things that I really, and it was like, about my family. I'm out here providing for my family. It's fun, but at the same time, I got to make sure that, I keep my wits about me and I keep my nose clean, man. And, so I really got to thank God for that. And then one thing that I always do, whatever artist I play with, before we go on the road, before we go on stage, we all hold hands and we just pray. You know what I mean? We pray. We thank God for bringing us to where we are safely, and just to have a good show and to have fun. And we acknowledge him, and I think that's all he wants, yo. You know what I mean? So,
Well, that's beautiful.
So deep. I'm sorry.
You sound a little bit like your dad now. Talk about with NERD. Talk about traveling with them and going on the road, and just talk about that experience. How long are you on the road with them for?
So I mean, basically, so this is how it happened, Dom. I'll share this with you. So 2006, June calls us, me and Boots, like me and Eric Green. We're going on the road with Pharrell. He had the album called I can't think of the name, but the single was "Can I Have It Like That?" So that was a big popular single. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Where the first place was the first place we going? Japan. That was our first gig. So that was supposed to be it. So we go to Japan. So we like, all right, cool. We played the first show. Pharrell walked on stage. He had a icy chain on. I love the diamond. So I'm like, man, I said that chain is crazy. And I was playing like a pattern on a SPDS. He was like, man, that pattern is amazing. I was like, thank you, man. I was like, that chain is even crazier. So, what I mean? I'm just like talking to him regular. So we go through the sound check. We did the show, and it was cool. It was like we was still a little tight. We looking like we playing the show, but it was like we didn't really do us because we like trying to chill. We don't want to do too much. So, Amir was playing before. I don't know if he wants that. And then the next show, I was like, yo, before we went on stage, I said, Boots, let's just do us, man. We only here for 2 more days. Let's just do us. We played the show as ourselves, and he did him, I did me. We got off the stage. We're walking back to the dressing room, and Pharrell's walking. He's in the middle. I'm on one side, and Boots on the other side. And Pharrell was like, yo, y'all might as well mess around, be my drummers. And that's how we got the gig. So then that was just the Pharrell gig. NERD had a separate band playing for them. So we actually took that slot and we started playing with NERD. And what I can say about that is like NERD is like a boys club. It's fun. We have fun and just playing the music. It's like, he gets into his politics and he talks about just his life, and it's just amazing fun. We went out with Jay-Z. We went out with a lot of dope artists, man, that I can't even remember right now. We played a lot of great festivals like Glastonbury in front of 200,000 people. And, the one thing that we used to do, we used to solo every show on a song called Spaz. He would highlight the drummers, so that was amazing. He would call a bunch of girls on stage. At the last song, She Wants to Move, and it was just a party every day. And this is when I was in my young 20s, so it was like, man, we was just having a ball. My family would come out, my wife and my son at the time, because I only had one son. He would let them come on stage. He would sign autographs. Shay and Chad, I can't say enough good things about them Virginia people, man. Yeah. They're just great people, and it's just good money. They pay you on time. It's no, we'll pay you later. It's like, it's just a good time, man. And we traveled the whole world. Sometimes we did 3 shows in one day, man. It was amazing. Yeah. We was in the videos. We got free clothing from BBC. It was like a dream, man. It was really a dream, yo. So I can't say enough good thing about NERD and Pharrell, man.
But your whole story is a dream when you think about it. When you think about, we speak of the American dream. Yeah. You were persistent. You persevered. You are a person of good discipline. You got a real strong discipline to yourself. And listen, Darrell, that's not a very common trait. That level of discipline is what it needs for success to be understood.
Absolutely.
That hard work, that ethic of getting out there and doing the best you can and being true to yourself every gig.
Yes.
Listen, when you played at Joe His Memorial, you guys sounded fantastic. You got up and you were just who you were. And that's a wonderful, wonderful, honest feeling that when you're playing, that's who you are.
That's it. And this is the thing, Dom. This is the thing that I've always relied on. Like I know a lot of, listen, in church, and just in the world, man, it's a lot of amazing players. But nobody can do you like you.
Absolutely.
Nobody can do Dom like Dom. Nobody can do Darrell like Darrell. And you be yourself and you'll stand out. When you start to try to sound like someone else, that's when it gets a little foggy. But when you do you and you're true to yourself and this is what I want to bring to the table, it's amazing.
Darrell, thank the Lord that nobody else can do Dom the way I do it, because I'm having enough challenges doing Dom on my own. I don't want anybody else to have these challenges. I'm struggling just trying to be Dom. Are you kidding? Look at this face. This has got mileage on it. Are you kidding? There's some serious mileage here. Your beard is black, man. Everyone here has got a story, man.
Yeah.
Everyone. I got another guy here. Check this out now. This is Larry Rizzo, okay? He said, hello, Darrell. For the people like myself who aren't that familiar with the neo-soul sound, could you give maybe some older or newer artist drummers to listen to? Who would you say that they could have a listen? Because they can go back and they can just rattle some names off of some people and let them kind of understand.
Drum?
Well, both.
Okay, so let's go through the neo soul pantheon that I have in my mind. So I have Jasmine Sullivan, Bilal. Okay, so as I say the artist, I gotta say the drummer. Bilal, Steve McKee is one of the illest drummers in the world, and he's actually the guy that put me on. We went to the same high school, so Steve McKee for sure. Music Soul Child. So basically John Roberts played for him. I played for him. Spank actually played for him as well. Jill Scott, Eric Tribbett played for her. She has a live album as well. And Rashid is actually her MD now, which is amazing. Bilal, music, Jaguar Wright, Kendrick and the Family Soul. These are all people from Philly.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's crazy. And Julian used to play for Kendrick and the Family Soul, and they have a lot of good drummers playing now. Jeff Bradshaw, he's a horn player. He used to play with Jill, with me. He used to play the horns. Now he has his own solo thing going on.
Yeah.
But I would say for neo soul, Questlove, man. Like, I mean, if you listen to Questlove,
you got to throw the Roots in there, right?
The Roots, you got it. I mean, they hip hop, but you got it, man. Because the Roots is like kind of like they started a show in Philly that was called the Black Lily, and that's where we used to come. Check this out, Dom. So Black Lily it used to happen at this place called the Five Spot. And this was like 2000, 2001. I was 17, 18 years old, and I had to sneak in because there's a bar in there. So they would sneak me in, and I would get to play, and I would get to see like Amir playing the drums. And so the Roots would be the band, and they would play for like the Jazzy Fat Nasties, and Jasmine would come in, Kendrick, Bilal. It would be crazy. And it was just like this brotherhood of just like neo soul. We're taking over the world. It's a new genre of music, and this is it. And I was, if I was 2 years younger, I would have missed it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I was able to be a part of that, and so that's what I would say. The musicians to listen to, like, because it's really basically neo soul is basically like hip hop. You know what I'm saying? But at the same, it's because it's simple, but at the same time, it's really like with the chords, it's like it's a really musical. You know what I mean? So the beat is always simple, but the chords are like musical. So just whatever. I mean, any of these guys like from back in the day that would play on the Al Green stuff, and you know what I mean, for James Brown. That's where we get it from, man. Like, you know what I mean? Because that stuff felt so good. You still listen to Ain't No Sunshine, or you know what I mean, all of this James Brown and the Meter Sissy. Right? That beat is so funky. You like, woo! Like, you know what I mean? It's so funky. It's like,
Hey.
what play? That's funky, man. You know what I mean? You listen to that, like that's what neo soul is, man.
That's beautiful.
I'm telling you.
You take players like Zigaboo Modalest, who's phenomenal.
Man.
You take players like I had the chance of meeting. I did the last interview with Jabbo Starks and Clyde Stubblefield. Guys were as deep as you can imagine. When it came to pocket, it wasn't even a pocket. It was a freaking trench. It was so deep.
Absolutely. And it's like my whole thing is when I see the people with the chops and they get the woo, and I love it. Chops are amazing. I love it. I love all styles of music. But when certain players play and everybody just has to do this, that's what I always want. I want the head nod, baby.
Yeah, exactly right. and Larry, even a guy like James Gatson. I mean, James Gatson is a whole nother player that just everything he plays, it's just so deep at the highest level. Those are the guys. Boy, great question. Boy, before we wind down, I want you to talk about the Origin Band and talk about your hat, the OG, the nickname, Origin Band, what's going to happen with some music you're writing and the players in the band.
Okay, so the players in the band is, like I said, Adam Blackstone, which is a phenomenal MD. He's prolific. He played MD for Justin Timberlake. He just did the BET Awards. He's basically all over the place, man. He's amazing. That's like one of my best friends. Dwayne Moore is one of my best friends. He plays for Beck. Aaron Draper plays for John Mayer. He's a percussion player. He plays for John Mayer and Adele. Ray Phil Holloman, he plays for Neo. And Johnny Smurf Smith, he plays for Common. And, we all grew up in the church with brothers. And we're like, listen, man, we've been playing this secular music and God blessed us to do this. Let's give back to the church. Let's what's in our heart is gospel. So let's just do that. Because we wouldn't feel comfortable getting up on stage saying anything else, because our parents would kill us. So, you know what I mean? We came together and we have some great features, and we're working on an album. And OG is basically a nickname that we have, I guess, because we've been in the industry for 20 years. So a lot of the younger musicians call us OG. In the hood, OG stands for Original Gangsters, but we ain't no gangsters. We just been through the mud, like I said earlier. We've been through a lot of trials and tribulations as it relates to music, and just being who we are, being Black, and just maneuvering through this society and through this nation. And so we have we can illuminate a lot of facts to them that they may not know before they get into the game, or certain mistakes that we made, that they won't have to make because we made them. Nice. When I was younger, I always listened to, older people that had wisdom. I just would listen. I would just sit there and listen, and I would just gather and garner information so that I wouldn't make those mistakes, and how I should charge, how you should charge people. Because initially, coming from the church, you don't really get paid. So now you're like, okay, we're going on a tour for 4 months. What's your weekly salary? And you're like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? You don't even know where to start. So, we give them like that information of like, what you should be charging. What's due to you, you know what I mean, as you go on the road. Because initially you feel like they're doing you a favor, but at the same time you're doing a job for them, so you need to be paid. You know what I'm saying? So so that's kind of like outside of the band. Anybody can call me, DM me. I try to help them the best way I can. You know what I mean? A lot of people
on Instagram, they can track you down. Check this out. Rashid has joined us here.
What's up?
Oh, my OG.
Yeah. And like Rashid, man, I mean, I used to have something called Sunday Night Live, right? And I would have something so on Sunday nights we would get together. Boots was my MD. We have a band and we just all get together. We play music, gospel music. We'll have people sing because there's a lot of talent and just a place for everybody to come to network. And Rashid would come and be like, yo, man, what I got to do to get on, man? I said, yo, you good. You just got to be patient. I was just like you were at your age. I said, but you're good. You're in the right spot at the right time. And it happened for him, man. I'm so happy to see his success, man. And, you know, that's happened with a lot of folks that, you know, that came up under us or whatever the case may be. Not that we're the reason why they got on. It's just that it's good to see, you know, people live out their dream, man. So, you know, he's been professional since day one, man. He came on with Pharrell, killed the gig, first gig. And I mean, he didn't have no rehearsals. He sat behind booth at the Madison Square Garden, watched the show. The next show was in Germany and he smashed it, man. And you know, he just does everything and more, you know, that's expected of him, man. And that's why he's going to work. And that's really just all it is, man. And you know, you the super OG because you've been around. Look at that gray beard. You've been around for a long time, so you schooling everybody, man. I gotta send you an OG hat, Dom.
Yeah. You know, it's amazing. We got a gentleman here, Tony McNally, who is from the UK, from Newcastle, UK, another phenomenal player and teacher. And here he's saying, we have to be more like athletes these days. So it takes us to really be in good shape, take care of yourself, and really, you know, put your best foot forward.
Absolutely.
Game. Boy, this is fantastic. Let me tell you something. Darrell, you're a great guy, man. You've got some great stories. This hour has flown by. This is on the Mapex Facebook page, where I thank them so much for allowing us to have this time to bring these artists. As I had Rashid before, I've got more artists coming on to showcase every Monday at 2 p.m. So I tell everyone to join us and be a part of it. Darrell, you are a gem, man. You are a true leader in the community. You really are. You're a guiding light for the next generation to see what it takes: hard work, perseverance, real and strong core values, strong principles, a beautiful family man. You've got the balance of all of it. You're true to your music. Stay healthy. Keep doing this here. You are a great example of what we should be doing as drummers.
I appreciate that, man. And like I said, man, you have been so warm, and Mapex has shown me love for all of these years. And, you know, all the drummers that's out there, check us out, man. And, you know, it's a family affair over here, and we got love, man. I just want to say one thing, and I got this from Quincy Jones, and he says, I wish everyone here a long life, filled with a whole lot of love to share, health to spare, and friends who care.
Nice. Beautiful way to go out, man. Darrell, thank you so much. Darrell, 2 R's and 2 L's. Darrell Drums 215 at Instagram. Anyone wants to get a hold of him, track him down. Darrell, I'm sure we'll meet up at some point. If you just stay well, stay safe with you and your family, all right?
Salute, brother. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
All right.